Hello, the Soki audience. Welcome to the new, still unnamed, not new, the still kind of new, unnamed comic book related movie podcast here on Visoki. That's a really long title. Write that down. All right.
Just type
All
that
right.
one in.
So the top story today is James Gunn's back to direct Guardians 3. Everybody. First of all, before we get into that though, Charlie, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Oh, lovely. Still sick, but just take some Mucinex. That should help, right?
Yeah. Yep. All right. So let's just jump into it. I'm Philip DeFranco now. All right. I mean, James Gunn was fired a long while back. Actually, when we first started talking about making this show, was one of the things we were going to talk about on the first show was James Gunn.
This is true.
And it was a big deal because, not everybody gets every character that they're going to get put in front of them. And especially developed characters some people have a really hard time stepping into that role. And there really was nobody, even Taika Waititi, who everyone was saying could probably do it. Although in my opinion, it's a completely different kind of comedy, but whatever. But like that aside, he even said, I won't do it. That's not my place. And then eventually Disney probably realized when James Gunn got hired to direct the Suicide Squad, aka the Suicide Squad reboot for DC, that if they don't do something fast, they're going to lose them. Now, the interesting thing about this is now we have James Gunn both working simultaneously for a Disney property that's a Marvel property and a Warner Brothers property that's a DC property at the same time. And they're both squads of like sort of anti-hero-ish characters, although Star-Lord's kind of a hero now. But like when they first came in, they were villains, they were criminals, So I mean, and so literally the same kind of concept on both sides, essentially. I'm sure there's differences people could point out to me, but I just think that's really fascinating. So what do you think about James Gunn now being back to direct Guardians 3, but is still also going to be directing the Suicide Squad?
I think it's needed for Guardians 3. Supposedly they had known for a while that they were bringing it back, and there was like some agreement that we didn't know about. But I mean, I think we kind of talked about this too. Even when he wasn't hired, it was like, are they really not going to use him? We already knew they were using the script. It's like, I don't know. I think it's very important that you get him to direct this trilogy, and yeah, working side by side with the Suicide Squad that's cool. I think that's a step in the right direction because there doesn't necessarily need to be beef, I guess you could say, between these two. Because usually most people that like the comics and like everything, they just like them all. So
yeah, but that's true. There's some people that, and I think that's slowly going away, the comic book nature of kind of the DC versus Marvel thing, because truthfully, if you love comic books, you can kind of appreciate stories on both sides. There are some Green Lantern stories out there that I could show people that they would not, the people that are completely in DC, there are people in DC that completely do not understand Green Lantern at all and don't consider it part of the greater mythos of DC to a degree, or just don't pay attention to it. And there's some fascinating stuff in there. It's what made me love DC Comics. But that aside, I think the interesting thing will be how they schedule his time, because I assume they're going to have to do completely different time frames for these movies, but they're all going to be worked on around the same time. I don't know how this is going to work. People have worked on multiple movies at the same time before, and it's come out okay. But
from what I did see something talking about how he's going to do Suicide Squad first.
That makes sense because he got signed on for that first, I believe. So
yeah, and I believe, and yeah, we know that Marvel doesn't have an issue with it. They're like, they didn't make him do anything.
If they say we don't want you to direct this movie, he's just going to say, I'm going to make money making this movie. You buy, and then Ghost becomes, and I don't think he'd want to, but then he could just be like, yep, I'll be the new director of the DC universe.
Yeah, when the first Suicide Squad racked up 746 million worldwide and had a 27% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, it makes you think, what's something like this possibly with a director like this going to do? When we already know he's picked. The characters that he's picked are insane. Like they're out there. A couple of them I've never heard of. So
King Shark is awesome. I just want to throw that out there.
Yep. Polka Dot Man. That just sounds cool, dude.
Some of the characters don't even have fighting abilities, really. Like they have their own way. Obviously, everyone in comics has their way of staying around in a fight and not necessarily getting hurt. But some of them are literally there for they're in support roles. He did the same thing he did with the Guardians. Let's break down the Guardians really quickly. What do you have? You have the leader in Star-Lord. You have the expert martial artist and sneaky assassin in Nebula and Gamora. You have Drax, the muscle, you know what I mean? And Groot also the super muscle, like I can come back to life muscle, you know? Except not really according to James Gunn, but you know. But yeah. And then you also have Rocket with like the technology and the intelligence and the planning and stuff like that. So that's the same kind of thing he's put together here with the DC characters that he selected. So it'll be really awesome to see how he works them all together rather than seeing, you know, Amanda Waller just force people to just which is the way it is in the comics. The things in their neck, that's a thing, but the way it was presented in that movie was really bad. So yeah. Fascinating stuff though.
Exactly. Yeah, I was good timing because I was going to transition into you telling me about that with the Guardians. So yeah, it gives the excitement for that, and with Shazam coming out, there's a little bit of excitement here for the DCEU. You know, so it's like
Aquaman opened to not great, but better than reviews than they've had for anything but Wonder Woman. You know, so
yep, yeah.
So, but you know, James Gunn's back, and that's awesome. But you know, another director just recently got signed on to the MCU as well, and that was let me. I don't want to get the name wrong. Hold on, sorry, I don't want to be. Destin Daniel Cretton has been signed on to direct the Shang-Chi movie that's been talked about. Shang-Chi is actually a really interesting character that I actually had heard about before, and I didn't. It rang a bell to me. I knew there was a superhero in this universe that I knew about from comic research that I've done, but then I remember hearing all this stuff, and it's really fascinating. So what I knew Shang-Chi from was from the Civil War timeline, which is really weird to specific, and also when he was part of the Heroes for Hire run, which is one of my favorite runs of comics ever. That's really cool. It involves Misty Knight and some other superheroes kind of involved in the anti-registration movement, I believe. You know, so which, you know, fits right in with Shang-Chi's character. So the big twist, and I'm going to throw up a huge spoiler warning because this will probably play into the movie. So if you don't want any spoilers for a possibility of the Shang-Chi movie that's going to be coming out, skip to the next part of the video. I'll do like this when I'm done talking about what the spoilers potentially for this movie will be. So Shang-Chi's father is actually a villain and is like bloodthirsty and hell-bent on dominating the world. And he's actually the first villain, I believe, Shang-Chi fights me. And so that's like the Vader I'm except he knows his first. I don't know. I'm a really fascinating twist. I don't think there's any characters kind of with the you know, fratricide kind of destiny where they're going to kill their father more than likely eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It definitely adds.
I don't think there's any characters. It adds an emotional layer that if he ever came back in any form as a part of a villain team or something at some point, that would like probably have some baggage that Shang-Chi would have to deal with, you know?
Yeah.
So let's just talk about Shang-Chi's powers a little bit. Shang-Chi doesn't really have like powers per se. Like he's like a really super fast and got like extra superb agility and stuff like that, which I don't know if that's like improved by like a serum or something like that. As far as I know, probably not. But I do think there was some of that stuff in that area because there was like a whole line in his comics. I think I might be mixing this up with another character where they improved him. Like it was actually really similar to the Chinese Superman version they did for the Justice League of Asia or something like that. Justice League of the West or the East. I don't know, whatever that was. Someone can correct me on that. I think they were both really similarly done in that way. I could be wrong. Shang-Chi could just be super fast anyway, but that's probably how they'll play it in the movie because everything is tied in the Marvel universe somehow to people that have extra super fast speed and strength is always tied to the superhero serums that were developed by Weapons Plus back in World War II for Captain America and Wolverine and Sabretooth and blah, 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 blah. And Nick Fury in the comics, by the way, has extra life-extending drugs in his system. By the way, most people don't know that. I don't think he does in the movies, but, you know, whatever.
He took that one thing from I don't know what that was, but like the slowing of the heart rate. Remember that?
No, I'm talking about he has like a super serum. He has like the original superhero serum. Like
nice.
Didn't really give you super strength and stuff like that. It just kind of extended your life, like your like general lifespan. That's why Nick Fury's been around for all of the superhero stuff. You know what I mean? In the comics. That's a different Nick Fury though. The Nick Fury I think in the movies is the Nick Fury that replaces that Nick Fury. But anyway, either way. Shang-Chi has the power to duplicate himself like an infinite number of times as far as has been ever been confirmed in the comics. I don't think it's ever been given a limit. which means, and they all have all of his speed and strength and stuff. And I think they're solid. They might be like destroyable by like magic or by like weapons, but like, yeah, he has that sort of like sneaky assassin sort of power of duplication that's in a lot of like Eastern like literature and stuff like that. The duplicate, not necessarily literature, but like shows based in that part of the world, and it's obviously Marvel sticks to that. So, what are your thoughts on all this, Charlie? I mean, all this is really fascinating stuff to me about this character. I'm really interested to see what they go with this.
Being known as like the master of the martial arts, having his fighting skill like all the way up, this is something that's going to be intriguing, and you already know, like they're gonna place this off so well. Like, this is going to be different. It's going to be fun. He's a great fisherman, so I hope we see him catching some fish.
That's got to be a bit of the thing at the beginning of the movie when he's training to begin with. He's got to be doing fishing. It's a side thing. It'll be an Easter egg. He'll just be out there fishing. It'll be like 2 scenes in the movie or something like that where he's fishing, and he'll be like, "Hey,
that'd be awesome." Yeah, man, excellent knowledge of Eastern philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, a little thing. I think there's a chance we might get introduced to him in Black Panther or Black Widow. That movie coming out next year. Maybe a little Shang-Chi pops up there. That's kind of where we first see him.
If she goes international or something, and then that's when she first meets him, is like in the post-credit of that or something. And we have to like maybe because that his movie might not come out before then, but they could have him be in that credit scene, kind of like they did with like the implication that Doctor Strange was going to be in Ragnarok and he maybe in a post credit for something you see, because I wonder if the beginning, because you know that scene where they're in like sort of like what looks like a big kind of the city, that the scene where she and Clint are in the big downtown area didn't look like an American city to me.
No.
And there could be alternate dimensions that are visited in this movie.
Yes, so it's like,
is that how some of these characters get brought in? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to need heroes in this movie, so who knows what they're going to pull that might be in these future movies? Because I mean, they already filmed all of Captain Marvel stuff before she had her movie, so it's not like they couldn't do that with a different character, you know. And they pop up in this movie, and that's how they're introduced. I mean, that would be really interesting. Spider-Man and Black Panther both got introduced in an Avengers movie called Civil War, so you know.
Yeah, so like characters pop up as side things, and you know we might just get a little taste of him, and you know, to see the actor who's going to be playing him, just to see it. You know, they get creative all the time.
I wonder how a Skrull would do trying to copy one of his duplicates.
So, you know, this would get interesting, man.
This is questions I need answered. All right. Yeah, good move by Disney. So I don't know much about the director. He's got some movies I've seen. One of them, which was he rewrote and directed, I guess. I'm on the wrong article here. Sorry. The Glass Castle. He's got Just Mercy and obviously Shang-Chi. They're on the slate right now. Just Mercy is a movie he's doing with the director of Black Panther, Ryan Coogler. I don't know anything about that movie. It's just it's for 2020. There's no date on Shang-Chi yet, which makes sense. They just announced the director. So yeah, I mean, so he's got some other stuff on here. Short Term 12 was a project he did with Brie Larson, obviously Captain Marvel. He's also worked with Michael B. Jordan in the past. He's obviously Killmonger, or was Killmonger. Spoilers. Yeah, so just some good stuff there. So it should be a really interesting movie if his take is as good as it seems like it will be. Yeah. All right, so pivoting here away. Now we're going to go to some hard numbers here for Captain Marvel. So we talked about Captain Marvel last week. We gave our spoiler review and our ratings. We both, I believe, gave it an 8 out of 10, which is lining up with several people are in like the 6 to 8 out of 10 range for that movie. A lot of people are just trying to pulling back. I don't know if you've seen this, right? A lot of people are pulling back on YouTube a lot of their criticisms that they had going into this movie. Not all of them, but some people I've seen videos already in my feed. I'm like, that's insane. Some of these people I would have never expected to pull back their criticisms. But so these are just some hard numbers. So to date, the movie has made $594 million worldwide. That's a lot of money. That's $500 million. And the movie's been out for what, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks almost?
Not even, no. The 7th, right? Just over a week.
Yeah, just over a week. It already made almost $500 million, or over $500 million. So it is the 9th biggest action heroine movie of all time. So,
right.
So female-led action movie of all time. I was going to look at this. So for the opening weekend in the United States domestically made $153 million. So it was projected about 155. So it hit right around where it was going to hit. It was a little below the mark, but it made like about $302 million or foreign. So it made about 455 million globally over the weekend. So it was a success, smash success, I would say. Over the weekend, no, not smash. That's probably something that's gonna people are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. But it was successful. That's a big opening. You know, despite all the criticism going in, you know, it's just really great for the movie, in my opinion, Charlie.
Yeah, same. I think it's great for everything involved for this next, you know, phase of the MCU. It's good to see what looks to be their, you know, they're kind of their captain now. Excuse the pun. What it looks to be their person now. So, you know, it's like, I think it's overall good that this, and especially, you know, Black Panther did so good, because we're moving into this next phase now where it's like Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man, and, you know, whatever else comes along with it is kind of your new Avengers.
Which and we'll see if the movie has enough legs to make like $1 billion total at the box office. It may not, and that's not necessarily going to be guaranteed, because I'm sure there was some people that were turned away that would have made that money. But I still think it has the ability to do that. But we'll just have to see where it goes in the next several weeks. We'll get I'll probably give updates on it, you know, once a show or something until it does, and then when it does, I'll be like, hey, it made $1 billion, you know. But yeah, so transitioning into our last topic of the evening. We're going to be talking about the new Avengers Endgame trailer that just dropped. Well, it didn't just drop. It dropped a while ago for people watching this now. But when, you know, but yeah, I mean, the trailer, in my opinion, had a lot of interesting, like, singular frames in it, really. Like, there were some moments that, like, if you paused the video and saw it, you were like, huh, that's interesting. There's been a lot of theories that have popped up from it, as there always is every time a trailer is released. This, in my opinion, gave much more than the first trailer did. And I think that's fair enough, because it kind of, everyone's in at this point. The people that are going to watch these second and third trailers are going to be expecting to be given information about this movie, because if you're watching the second and third trailer, in the opinion of the person making the trailer, is probably you don't know if you're going to see it or not. So they give you more. But it's like, and I've been taught, and part of my editing training at school was learning how to edit trailers. And one of the things we talked about editing trailers is knowing, like, one thing you wouldn't think about in a trailer, but now that I tell you this, you're going to see it every time. Every time you have someone like that's moving across, or anything that's moving across the frame like this, and the next shot, it has to continue wherever it was going. It has to continue that motion. Otherwise, your eyes will be like, what? Sometimes it's done on purpose, I think, for like horror movies or something like that, to create a sense of like, whoa. But like,
that makes sense, yeah.
But it depends. But and also it's a stylistic thing. But like, that was one of the things, you know, you had to develop a style of editing. So for this trailer, it was halfway between fast paced and slowed down. Like, I would argue the first one was really slow, and it was trying to give you information slowly. Like here's this, here's these characters, and boom, there's the movie. You know. So yeah. So what first were your initial thoughts on this trailer, Charlie?
Right away, I was like, all right, this is awesome. I was it was kind of like instantly for me. It was like, it's kind of the feeling I've had with this movie the entire time. I'm like, I want to see this right now. I want to watch this movie.
I wanted to see it at the end of Infinity War before I knew the name.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I need to see this movie. It looks too good. But yeah, like you were saying with the still shots, I mean, there's a couple shots we wanted to talk about. So we see their new suits, which had been like, everyone's like, oh, they're not real. They're not real. Oh, they are real. Oh, there's action figures leaked with them. Oh, it's finally see them in video. It's about time. These beautiful little white suits that they got going on.
The quantum suits. So, I mean, everyone saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's you know, it's the same kinds of suits, and everyone knew when he showed up and somehow escaped that there was going to be some way that he figured out that there's, like, maybe he knows something, because I have a feeling that scene where he comes through is later in the movie. I don't think that's early on. I don't think it's something like
I agree with that.
I think that was the one thing. I think it might be like that might be the end of the 20 minutes they gave us in that first trailer. You know what I mean? Like the opening arc. Like we'll get a bunch of stuff that goes down. Like some big fight will happen somewhere, right? And then as the movie is generally open with some kind of fight or action or leading moment. Like you go to Infinity War, it opens with a fight between Ebony Maw and Iron Man and Black Dwarf and the wizards, Doctor Strange and Wong. You know. Can I just talk about the character of Wong for a second? This is something that really frustrated me when I went back to the comics. He's not a wizard.
Huh? Really?
He's a master martial artist.
Okay, they changed that up a little bit,
which is fine because I think they knew they weren't going to keep Mordo around. Because I think that Mordo in the comics kind of switches between a good guy and a bad guy in certain situations. And there might have been a longer period where Mordo wasn't a bad guy, or there might have been a different bad guy. I don't know. Anyway, point being that really annoys me. But and we haven't seen anything. I mean, from Wong in any of this stuff, have we so far?
We have no idea if he's alive. Yeah.
I would say he's not dead. If there's no wizards protecting Earth, that's really bad because there's magic users out there. I mean,
maybe this introduces us to a new wizard. Yeah, like we were talking about. I mean, you
Wiccan
never know
could be introduced. I mean, that could be how Wiccan could be more of a wizard than like his more universe-changing powers in the comics, which is hard to it's hard to do the reality warping characters. Like, I don't think we'll ever see Franklin Richards. I don't think we'll ever see like the full power of the Phoenix Force from the alternate timelines. Like it won't ever happen probably, but we could see the Phoenix Force. I don't think we'll ever see it in its full power though.
Agreed.
Because the big problem with in my opinion the showing of the quantum suits is it does play immediately into that story. Like everyone knows where the first probably half of this movie is going to be going. I think everyone kind of assumed that they would defeat Thanos and then go on to bring everyone back. I'm thinking the other way now based on this shot that looks like it's starting off this action of this scene is them walking in like this is something that's on a beat of action where they were figuring stuff out probably after Captain Marvel gets there or maybe before. Actually, hold on. My brain just thought of something. They were acting for so in the post-credit scene for spoilers for the post-credit scene for Captain Marvel really quickly. If you haven't seen it, again. Oh, I never did the thing, by the way. You could come back whenever. Apologies. Everyone's just waiting. I'll timestamp it. Hopefully. Anyway. So yeah. Anyway, so in that scene, you have them waiting for forever to get this transponder to work, right? Transponder. This pager to page Captain Marvel, right? We all assumed she was just out of range because that's the way they tee it up in the movie. Well, what if she's off doing something, right? And then she comes back, but they were off doing something too, and that's why they're saying it took forever because they've now come back after saving some or doing something in the quantum realm, whatever that is. Which I don't know if that's them saving everybody or what, right?
Yeah, for real. It's yeah.
They're doing in the quantum realm, which I don't know. I think that will maybe that takes place before Captain Marvel shows up because I don't think was she in that lineup.
Yes. Yeah, they had everyone in it. They had Nebula and Stark and her. They had them all in there. So they kind of was like no questions asked after that. They were like, all right, you had to see Captain Marvel for us to give you this.
Okay, I see.
But yeah, there was a couple other shots we were talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a shot with Clint and what looks like his daughter. Yeah. Now we had discussed that maybe this is the scene where she gets dusted. Now talk about something that would be just an awesome scene, and they have it in front of them, and they introduce it to us in the trailer. So it's like I love when they do stuff like that. Dude, that'd be so.
It would be dark. It would be really dark. Which could be the darkest scene in the MCU.
Like we're
right. I think the interesting thing about this is kind of something people have been theorizing about since before we got the Ronin stuff even announced officially. This was a theory that was made when he was gone during Infinity War. I remember this being a theory that when he wasn't there, when people were spoiler reviewing, one of the things they were saying, I bet he will come back as Ronin after his family gets snapped because the snap happens. We have all these people that are elsewhere. And we knew something was going to happen to both Ant-Man and Hawkeye because they weren't there and they were doing their own adventures. Yeah, I mean, because the house arrest ends before the events of the snap. So theoretically, Hawkeye didn't have to stay any longer.
Yeah.
So something happens that causes him to not go immediately to the Avengers after the snap.
Oh, man, I can't wait to see what they do with this.
So this is teed up perfectly for them to do this. They could go a different direction with it. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I'm aligning up the stuff. It's so easy. And I think that's kind of because we already have the first half of this movie, So it's like, but it's fine because Infinity War was originally going to be 2 parts and they decided to make it 2 separate movies. And now this one's going to be really long. So, it's going to be like, this is like I've heard this is the best way I've heard it described is the finale of the MCU TV show season 1, or season 3, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is tying together all the loose ends over the years, just like Infinity War started pulling that stuff together in the first half. And we're going to see an epic conclusion where we're going to probably lose some people permanently, and maybe we'll get some replacement heroes. But it'll be really interesting where see where that goes.
All right, and another little still image I wanted to show you. I'm going to screen share a picture here. Let's share. Boom. Click this on me.
Yeah.
Right, so we saw the Ant-Man in a fight, and everyone's kind of theorizing, well, what could this be? So here's a little image I found. It looks like it's a pencil and an aux cord. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Could this be? This does not. What was it? What were they saying? First 10 minutes, first 20 minutes, or something? Do you really think this is going down in the first 20 minutes?
I mean, I don't think that's what I heard. That's just what I heard. It could be lying.
Oh no, the director said that. Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree with you. I think they could be BSing at this point.
Maybe that was just for the first trailer. I don't know.
He's also not in the other spot yet, though. So could he still be in the who knows where this is?
We don't know that he has like a suit that's not faulty, because I don't know that did he ever get the better suit at the end of a Wasp?
Yeah, they fixed it.
Fixed it. Okay, I couldn't remember. I saw the movie like literally forever ago.
Yeah, they were all good to go, and next thing you know, he's getting stuff for Ghost to go.
And then Healer, and then they get Snap. Yeah, I remember that.
Side note: Scott Lang's the GOAT, man. I love this guy.
Oh yeah, I think he completely turned around that character from one movie to the next solo outing. I loved Ant-Man the first time around, but I know a lot of people weren't that high on it. And I get that. It's not particularly great. The director of Edgar Wright should have been able to make a masterpiece, but then that didn't work out. So, but whatever, not every MCU movie can be a super hit. You'll have your Thor: The Dark Worlds. You'll have your Iron Man 3s. Although I really liked Iron Man 3 personally, but whatever.
I don't think I've seen a bad one in there, but some are not as good as the others, right? So.
Well, Dark World, I think they had a lot of reshooting in it that kind of made things, I don't think, make as much sense. But again, editing is another thing. I mean, all this stuff kind of flows together, and if it doesn't all mesh really well, I think part of that comes to crew, hiring crew and cast and stuff like that. Like if you don't do that right, I feel like that's where you fall apart. But anyway, is there anything else we have on the slate for this episode?
We were last thing we wanted to talk about was, so in one of the scenes, it almost looks like they're back in Louisiana.
Right.
So, which brings us, we were kind of talking a little bit before we went live. They would be about 25-ish years after where Captain Marvel was. And as we talked about in that show, Monica Rambeau actually ends up taking Captain Marvel, right?
Right. So hold on, let me pull this up exactly so I can find out the exact information. So I do know that there is a connection there. I meant to look into this at some point, but I actually was going to look into it before our Captain Marvel review, but I just knew that there was a connection.
Yes.
So
yeah. Long story short, there. So one of the theories that we've kind of seen going around was, obviously there's thousands of theories and all that, but Garrett and I we talk about random stuff. And so it looks like maybe Carol wanted to go there because she heard what happened, and she's like, so maybe she takes a trip to Louisiana or something along those lines.
Yeah. So she's a couple of different characters. So she's Captain Marvel, Photon, Pulsar, Spectrum.
What would that be called? She takes the mantle of Captain Marvel, pretty much.
That's what you would call it. Because especially if you like, I feel like with especially the way they've teed it up in the movies, which is very similar to the way it was in the the comic books. Have said that a couple times now in the comic books. That they had, it's a power that's attached to her. So if she died and it reattached to somebody, maybe it could be like that. Or maybe it's something like where a similar situation happened to her in the 20 years since.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be one of those things where Monica was inspired to go in the military and ended up in the same kind of programs as her mom and Carol, and it gives me that. Oh yeah, so that would be really contrived. It would be really stupid, but I'm sure there's some way that you can work this. I don't know if she's going to have the powers yet, but they could set some of this stuff up for later movies. Because I don't think Brie Larson can necessarily be going anywhere anytime soon. Although, I mean, they could be looking to replace her at this point. Not really. I mean, saying as the character, I'm saying if they are really offended by if they think people really were affected by the movie numbers are going to disagree with this. But if some guy at Disney is like, hey, we don't want this association. It maybe not now. 5 movies from now, I mean, when there's been 2 solo outings at that point, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And or in the next Avengers movie, which is when they start bumping people off usually. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, because they've already teased up Miles Morales in the universe. Like, if whatever happens.
Oh yeah, because we know
he's young, so it's like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and it's obvious that the Spider-Man property is as hot as ever too because of Spider-Verse.
Yeah, man.
And look at the trailers for Far From Home. Oh, it looks like such a good movie.
Yeah.
That might become my favorite MCU movie. I'm just going to say that right now. I've been waiting for the Spider-Man movie to come back and get all the things about Spider-Man that I really want them to understand Spider-Man needs to have. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to explain to someone that hasn't read a Spider-Man comic why Spider-Man is so great. Because Spider-Man is everything that is like about being like an American, but also someone that's really loyal and someone that's really
a little Spidey toy right next to me.
What was it?
A little Spider-Man brother.
Spider-Brother. Yeah, no, it's really hard. It's really hard to explain to someone that's not a super Spider-Man fan why you should be. But like, I feel like Homecoming showed a little bit of that, and I feel like this next movie can. But like, yeah,
it looks so good. What up, Flame 600? What up, brother?
Brother. Well, I mean, does anyone in the chat have anything they want us to talk about? Has there been any chat so far?
Yeah. Hey, May, got anything you want us to
hit that we haven't hit so far? Because we hit all our topics, so we're just
for real. But I mean, we agree, dude. You got some high hopes for sure. We were talking on the Captain Marvel. We are like, all right, probably next time we'll be talking is Shazam, but here we are a week later, literally. And we're already going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I plan to do more videos like this where we're talking about the news about stuff like that because, and this stuff is so the movies only come out so often, right? So you're only going to have, and then after Endgame comes out, there'll be a big gap before Spider-Man comes out in terms of other content that we'll have. So we'll have to do news. Probably when we get closer to Spider-Man, I'll start pulling some more images from
more information on these newer movies that are.
And we can do a Spider-Man trailer breakdown at some point as well, if we want to.
We'll be getting some Star Wars stuff.
Dang, Tampa Bay's up 4-2 right now. Oof.
Yes, where's Brady? So Brady is trying to find a cat with his girlfriend right now. Her cat got outside, and yeah, Brady's trying to find it. True story. I hope he does, man, because
same.
It's a young cat, and it's a good little kitty. Big little scratch, so. But yeah, I think that'll call the
That'll do. We'll definitely be contacting the local authorities momentarily. Yeah, it was a good show. Some good discussions, and stay tuned next time. Look out for our Shazam review when that movie drops. I'll be going to see that, and we'll catch you all next time here on Basookie Entertainment.